Welcome to the Home Services Home Show, where you'll learn a lot about a little bit what you need to know.
And a whole lot you don't.
You can tell it's been a month. I kind of
A little rusty.
muffed that one up.
That's right.
But
Yeah,
so here we are back.
We're live.
2023.
Yeah.
We took a little hiatus.
It was good.
Stuff's been happening, and how was your New Year's?
New Year's is good. No one called the cops. I got through Christmas and New Year's.
No one got arrested.
No one getting arrested, calling the cops. It was fantastic.
That's good.
No, it was great. No, our kids are older, right? So my kids are 19 and 17. So Christmas is a little different perspective now.
You're old.
I know, but it's different, right? It's not the kids and big-eyed and rush downstairs. It's different, but it's cool. Like
It's more family time.
Yeah,
visiting.
It was great. It was fun. Yeah, it was good.
I know that was tough. Your best bud left and went to college, and
Yeah, I know.
he was back for 6 weeks.
Yeah, he came back and he's got a pretty good program. That whole college fishing thing. That's another story, but he's got a pretty good program.
That's a whole nother podcast.
Another podcast. But yeah, no, he's got a good program, and yeah, it's good to see the kids back. And it's hard to believe that next
scholarship bass fishing.
It's just so silly, but
So awesome.
that's called the American dream.
So awesome. You don't even have to like. You're technically a college athlete. You don't have to like work out. You know. Do you? Do they make them work out?
No.
Oh, just fish.
Fish.
Oh man.
Yeah, pretty good.
Super.
But no, Christmas was good. We had Reese back in town, and Rylan is a senior this year. So next year will be different. We'll have both kids in college. So
Both kids home.
both kids home. How about you?
I'm in a totally different boat.
You're a different boat.
Yeah, so I'm backed up like 6 to 8 years from you. So one that still believes in Santa Claus, another one that doesn't.
Right.
But the older ones really. You know what's funny is the older ones never actually come straight out and said that she didn't. But I know that.
Right.
I know she doesn't. But the little one, it's
It's still magical.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's awesome.
We had to get the elf on the shelf this year.
Yeah.
It's, Mom, why don't we have an elf on the shelf? I don't know. Well, everybody has an elf on the shelf. The elf on the shelf,
Yep,
it
yep.
does weird things
Yeah.
every night, but that elf on the shelf is what really.
We have one of those in the office.
Oh,
It's fun office fun.
well, my daughter thinks it's real,
Ah,
and it
Oh.
does stuff, and you can't touch it, and it's a real thing.
nice.
It's serious.
Darlene in our office took that to a whole new level when our little, I forget what his name is. He terrorized our office. It's quite entertaining.
It's fun stuff.
But-
Fun stuff. You want to talk some sports?
Yeah, okay, a little bit.
What do we got?
Well, we got a couple things.
Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. Fickle's still tearing the country up.
Uh-huh. Aaron Rodgers, Super Bowl. What do you think of the Super Bowl?
It'll be fun to watch. Like,
It will be.
yeah, like I don't necessarily lean one way or another who I want to win. It'll be fun. It'll be entertaining.
Yeah, I don't care.
But yeah,
In a way, I want Jalen Hurts
right,
to win the Super Bowl. I don't want Philly to win the Super Bowl.
correct. That can't happen that way though.
No,
Right.
the worst.
Right.
But the Jalen Hurts story is really cool.
Pretty good. And he's
I mean,
he's got
Guy goes to Alabama. Guy gets benched in the national championship game. Tua comes in, wins the national championship. He transfers to Oklahoma. He tears it up. Now he's playing for an NFL
he's a beast.
Super Bowl champion.
He's a beast.
And Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah. Either one.
Either one.
Yeah, either one.
They were clearly the two best teams all year long.
Correct. Yeah, and I think that for this year for the Super Bowl is truly what I think what it should be. It's entertainment. Right? We all think that football is about it's entertainment. It's
Should be entertaining.
It should be an entertaining game, and it'll be fun to watch, and the whole hoopla goes with it.
Yep. And we talk Badgers. And we've talked about Luke Fickell before, but
You said he's really shaking some stuff up.
that man is tearing up the transfer portal and recruiting.
Nice.
And that's exactly why
They hired him.
they brought him in. They have at least a dozen players that would not have even looked Wisconsin's way
Nice.
if it wasn't for him.
So next year maybe good season. Couple seasons after that maybe
I mean, you know what? If they are next year, I mean, it can take a year or two,
Yeah, a
right?
couple years,
Because a
yeah.
lot of these guys are really young.
young.
So you can't expect a bunch of high recruits to come in and play at a super high level immediately. But man, you have to be able to recruit, and he's recruiting on a super high level.
And you think about the culture that's creating within that locker room. Like it's be kind of fun. Like the players that are returning have to have that buy-in. Like, okay, this is awesome. He's here to not only make us better that are here, but he's putting a group around us that is gonna be pretty awesome.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, they have 3 great quarterbacks coming in. Nobody knows who's really going to start.
That's crazy.
They have not had that.
We haven't had a good quarterback in a while.
What are you talking about? Anyway.
Well, so good. We've been spoiled with good quarterbacks from the Packers side, and growing up, what was Wisconsin's MO all the time? We're going to run the ball here. Dare you try to stop us? You can't. We have the best line. We have the best running backs, and we're just going to run over everybody.
That's going to change.
College football's changed.
Well, that's going to change, and his offense is different. You have to be able to throw the ball.
Right.
Why he's brought like 5 wide receivers in. And you have to be able to run the ball as a quarterback.
Correct. As a threat.
You have to.
Right.
In his offense. So it's going to be completely it's going to be exciting.
The Packers season might not be as exciting as the Badger seasons next year.
No. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to come back.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's handled it with a whole lot more class than
He's owed $59.5 million guaranteed next year.
That's a lot.
Think about that. $59.5 million.
And what's the cap? Like 200?
I don't know.
It's
He's like 25% of the team.
Right. Yeah.
I love you, Aaron Rodgers. If you see this, I do. But you are not worth that much money.
Without the talent around him.
Even if he has the talent.
You look at Brady and Rodgers this year. Brady and Rodgers without tools are different quarterbacks.
Still not worth that much money.
How do some of these other teams that have all this talent, how do they keep it under? That's my crazy part. How do you keep this under?
Well, you can't keep it forever.
Right.
So that talent, they have that talent is getting discovered. And then all of a sudden, their contract is up and now they're gone because they're going to go somewhere else and get twice as much money, and the team that they're on, they can't pay that.
Right.
They can't pay it anymore. Cord's bob.
Yeah. Like how does like you look at Kansas City's had, it seems like the same talent forever. Like,
well, Tyreek Hill, I mean, he was one of their very best players, and they couldn't keep him. And he went to Miami this past year, and he absolutely tore it up.
mm-hmm.
They don't have him. Miami's not good.
I think if the Chiefs had Hill this year, it makes it tougher.
They'd be in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it'd be really tough. It'd be really tough for the Eagles.
Yeah. Well, look, Valdez Scantling. You remember him?
Oh yeah, he looked great.
2 touchdowns, 116 yards.
Go-to guy.
Just the go-to guy for them to go to the Super Bowl. Wasn't good enough for the Packers. What the heck? I don't know.
Right. So anyway.
Well, so should we talk about something that's actually important?
Yeah, probably a little bit.
Right. So
we covered everything you don't need to know.
Yeah, that's what you didn't need to know. You got our opinions. Sorry, Aaron. $59.5 million. Not worth it. Is that bad for me to say stuff like that?
I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know.
Maybe you'll get invited on his podcast.
Listen, you know what? If he came in and he said, here's the deal. I want to win. I got 2 good years left in me. I'm going to take a pay cut. Get some people in here. Yes.
Do you think he does?
No.
You don't think so?
No. Nope.
All right.
But I hope he does. I hope you do.
Right.
Someone get this to Aaron Rodgers. I love you, by the way. It's a lot of money. It's hard to get really good players when
it's all chewed up.
You're kind of capped, right. Right? I mean,
they did raise the cap this year, the NFL did, which helped. But
still.
Anyway, let's see what happens.
So anyway, we got a listener question from Jason in actually Fairmont, Minnesota, not too far away.
Right.
I just looked it up, trying to see if we would actually go there and help you out. It's about 4 hours.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
maybe.
Yeah. So he asked the question. He listens to us on Spotify, which is fantastic. But how would you guys insulate a crawl space under a room with dirt floors? And when you and I both read that, your eyes lit up, and I'm like, all right, this is Larson's.
What did I say? Layup.
Correct. You can't miss this one.
Because this is home science that was done really, really, really wrong for
a lot of years.
Long time. I grew up in a house with a crawl space.
Right.
It was a miserable part of our house. It was so cold.
Right.
It was like going, it was 10 degrees colder all the time. Freezing floors.
So let's talk about I'm going to let you explain how we're going to fix it, but let's talk about what's wrong with it and why we know that's wrong with it, because it's something that's super easy to comprehend.
Well, how about we talk about how it's been done for 100 years?
Correct. That's what I mean. Is
okay.
What's wrong with the way it's always been done?
So for 100 years, and there's not as many crawl spaces in our area as there are in other parts of the country, typically because we have basements.
Right.
But crawl spaces come around a lot when
Additions.
that people don't want to put full basements underneath. And or in my house, it was actually a front porch area. The house I grew up was probably built in the 19 teens. It had a front porch.
Yep.
Then at some point, somebody turned that front porch into more living space. Yep. So all it had was footings, crawl space, dirt floor. So what they always wanted to do, what they thought you needed to do was you vented it.
Right.
So airflow could go through there, right?
Which was great in Wisconsin for about 3 months of the year.
Yes. Got rid of the moisture,
Yep.
cut down on mold and stuff like that.
Yep.
And then what people did was they just stapled some insulation to the floor, right? And expected that
Correct.
to keep it,
To isolate them from the cold.
to isolate.
Because in the wintertime, if it's 0 out, like we're going to have tomorrow again, if you have 0-degree air that you're purposely putting on your house, well, then that's underneath your feet. And that's like taking a vest that I'm wearing and say, I'm going to hang it on the pole outside, not connected to me, and hope it works. Because once they staple it to the underside of the floor, gravity pulls it down. So now it separates. So
What
now
do we know about what does insulation have to be to work?
connected to the side you want to be on.
It has to be touching.
Right.
So once that insulation is stapled up there, it starts to fall down. Now there's an air gap
Of 0-degree air.
of nothing.
Right.
Right. So it was freezing cold. Jason wants to know how.
Right. So let's go back there. So here's why we know that this is a problem. And we do this on almost every crawl space point we go on. The guys will go downstairs and they'll actually take some scented oil.
Oh yeah.
And they put a couple drops of scented oil in the because everything's that crawl space that's below the house that doesn't affect me in the house. Well, they don't understand it, so you put that scented oil down there, and they'll go back upstairs and they'll say to Mrs. Jones, "Hey, you smell that lavender? Yeah, I don't know where's it coming from. Let me ask you, Mrs. Jones, would you ever on purpose go down that crawl space? Oh my God, no, it's nasty. There's spiders, there's mice,
and I've been in the one I grew up in. It's nasty.
It's nasty. I would never go down there. Well, can you believe that you're actually breathing the air that's down there? She goes. And then also the light bulb goes on. Yeah, I put those essential oil drops down there, and what you're smelling is all that essential oil that's in your crawl space is coming up through your house through stack effect, right? And now you're breathing all that dirty air that you would never go down into. So when you do that to people and they understand that is part of what they live in, it kind of freaks them out.
Yep.
And
it's dirty.
It should.
It's damp. A lot of times there's mold in there.
Correct. Yeah, mice,
nasty
mushrooms,
weird stuff. And that air is coming in through those vents, and because of stack effect,
yep,
going right up into the house.
Correct.
So not only is it freezing cold,
yep,
or hot,
yep, it's terrible air quality.
You're breathing that air in,
right? So when we put that essential oils down there, it's kind of like, okay, now we grab the customer by the shoulder. It's okay. Now you understand there's a problem. Let us show you how to fix it. And so when you saw this, your eyes lit up, and I'm gonna let you do it because that's your jam. But this. When we change this part of the house, it changes their world for sure.
When I read this question, I looked at Shane and Chase. I was like, "Did you guys make this up?"
Right.
But real question,
and it's a real answer.
But a lot of people actually don't really know how to fix them these days. So what do we really need to do? Really, we need to take the thermal barrier
and the air
barrier, and we actually encapsulate the closed space.
Right.
So now. There's no more venting.
Nope.
There's no need for insulation on the floor because we're not letting that cold air get in there anymore at all.
Correct. We'll isolate the dirt floor because we got to stop all the dirty, nasty air from the floor coming down. So we put what's called clean space down. It's a really thick white plastic. It's beautiful. Like you could have a party in there when this is done. Right? It looks beautiful.
Look really awesome. We'll put some pictures on.
How this looks,
so you can see a before and after with clean space.
Right. So we'll isolate the floor and the dirty air and all the moisture from the dirt from coming up now. So we stop that.
Yep. And we run that right up the sides.
Yep. And a lot of times we'll foam
once it gets up. Yep. And then we spray. Because there's rims down there.
So
we're going to spray foam those rims, and we're going to spray foam that clean space right to the rims. So now it's completely encapsulated.
So now you got to think of now the hardest part for people to think about is now your crawl space is now part of your house, which is okay. Get rid of all that, that insulation that's up there, that nasty stuff that's not doing you any good. So now if we make that crawl space, let's say 55 degrees, 60 degrees, and your house is trying to be 70,
It's still not going to be warm.
but it's better
It's
than
going to be
zero.
more like a basement.
It's like 0 under your feet. Or it's not 0 under your feet now. It's 55 or 60.
Correct.
And now we have a clean air, a protected spot that you're not bringing all the bad elements into, and it makes people's houses way, way, way warmer.
Mm-hmm. Now, back in the day, when what we've learned, what we know, being I would call us somewhat home performance experts in the way a home works and breathes, and
In the retro market.
In the retro market,
Right.
Yeah, not new construction.
New construction, not our jam.
We don't do new construction. What we know is that one thing can either negatively or positively affect another area.
Correct.
So when we first started doing this, a number of years ago, we were new at this, and we had this exact same question, and we went and ran an estimate for someone not that far from here, and they had an addition, and it had a crawl space, and it was freezing cold, obvious reason. So what do we need to do? We need to clean space, their crawl space. We need to encapsulate it.
Mm-hmm.
But what we didn't do, so this was an old home. So the attic was done very, very poorly. I think they had like literally 3 inches of almost nothing insulation in the
Correct.
attic. Now, what do we know? If a home is leaky and there's a lot of stack effect going on, it's going to pull air from somewhere.
It's losing air through the top,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Gotta come in.
It's going to suck air through somewhere in the bottom.
So what it was doing was it was sucking a lot of air in through that crawl space, which was super leaky. Well, now we closed the crawl space off. And they called not long after and said that we actually made that addition colder.
Sure.
Why?
Because now it's pulling all the air in from all the leaks around the windows and the doors.
Pulling it in from the windows.
Correct.
So now instead of it pulling from underneath, it started pulling from the conditioned space, actually making it feel colder
Draftier.
and way draftier. Because before they just had freezing cold floors.
Right.
Now they feel a physical draft coming from the windows.
Right.
Why? Because that house is losing so much heat and air through their
Attic.
Now, what we needed to do was say, okay, yes, this does need to be done, but we really need to take a good hard look at your attic.
Correct.
And we need to air seal your attic properly, because if we cut off the airflow from here, it's going to make another area in your home even leakier and feel worse, because your home's going to pull air from some place.
Yep. And I think that hits on the big part that a lot of people don't understand. And a lot of contractors don't understand that everything you do to a house is going to change it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Every action has equal opposite reaction.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing happens in home comfort and home performance, especially in retro homes. And in trying to tackle your windows and doors you're never going to win that battle. But I know that if I stop the pull of air leaking out the attic,
Mm-hmm.
and I stop the air coming from the bottom, I can make a much more healthier and comfortable house. And crawl spaces are notoriously bad, and leaky attics
Terrible.
are bad too. Yep.
Just because of the way that they were done and just not understanding the science. So for this customer, it really was our fault.
Sure.
So
The first time, yep.
the first time,
Mhm.
we did go back and do some air sealing for this person pro bono.
Yep.
And they paid for some more insulation.
Yep.
And it changed
They
everything.
loved it.
It changed everything.
Yep.
So that brings up another topic that where we've went out to homes and they just wanted their rim joists in their basement spray foam.
Mhm.
But because of this situation, I've educated our reps and let them know, like, look, you can't just, if they just want their rim joists to spray foam, that's fine. That's something we can do. But you have to go look in the attic. If there's no air sealing done in the attic,
It's going to make it worse.
spray foam those rim joists is going to make their conditioned space in their home it's going to make it drafty.
Correct.
It's going to suck air in from the windows, from around the door, more so than it
That
ever
pressure
was
plane
before.
is moving up,
Correct.
and now my negative pressure just moves up into the first floor versus being in the rim joist in the basement.
Got to pull air from somewhere.
Uh-huh.
So knowing that, I mean, that's a game changer. There are a lot of contractors that probably have no idea, right? You want your rim joists sprayed? Yeah, no problem. You want sure, we can encapsulate the
Crawl space.
crawl space.
Yep.
No big deal. But we've learned.
Yeah, and correct, and I think that's the key between what we do and how I sleep really good at night. I know you do too. That if we're going to work on home, especially when it comes to insulation, that we're going to take the right approach, and the only way we'll do it is right. And I know there's been jobs that
We've made mistakes.
we made mistakes, but we also know that we got to protect the customers because they don't know, and a lot of other contractors don't necessarily know either. It's different than roofing. It's different than gutters. It's different than siding.
Way different.
Way different. There's a lot of things that you can't see playing in the house, right? And I know that when we do a job, if we're either going to do it right or we're not going to do it at all. Like there's been times that if they go up in the attic, just like you said, and the attic is a cheese hole, a Swiss cheese, right? And they want the rim joist done, we're gonna make it worse.
Mhm.
That doesn't make any sense.
We're gonna make their home more uncomfortable.
And now they're gonna spend a couple $1,000s and they're gonna be unhappy and uncomfortable. Nobody wins. So I would rather say, hey, if you want us to do it the right way, we can do it the right way, same as you will, but we got to do it the right way.
Yeah.
And
You might not like the price.
but unfortunately,
We'd rather not do it at all.
I'd rather not do it at all.
Yeah.
Because that's not worth it.
It is not worth it.
So that was a great question from Jason.
Jason Roloff.
So Jason, if you're listening, here's what I want you to do. We have a book that's specifically made for crawl spaces, and it really details out. It's a book about this thick, and it's beautifully done by the folks at Contractor Nation, and it walks through basement crawl spaces to a T. Reach out to our website, to Larson.com, LarsonHomeService.com, or KeeneyHomeService.com. We'll make sure you get that book in your hands, and then you can find someone that help you out down in that area. We don't go there, but at least you'll become a much more educated homeowner, and we'll
You can have somebody come over to give you an estimate, and you can tell them how.
And you can teach them how to do their job.
Or you can find out if they know what they're talking about.
Correct.
Right?
Correct. But that book will do an amazing job. Crawlspace, it's Crawlspace Science.
Yep.
It's awesome.
Someone comes over and says you need some new insulation on the floor of your crawl space.
Right.
Probably not who you want to go with.
Option number 2. So
second estimate.
right. So I think, Jason, you'll appreciate it. So please reach back out, and we'll get you that book for free. We'll mail it out, and that way you have a resource.
Yeah.
So cool.
I think that's it for today.
Awesome. Good to be back.
It is good to be back.
It's been a while since I've made the travel down here to beautiful Arlington.
Arlington, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
I bet you the people in Arlington didn't even know they had a podcast studio in Arlington.
Someday we'll be worldwide.
So I had to throw that in there.
Yeah, next time.
Yeah, next time. So
Awesome. Hey, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Love the questions. Keep them coming. And we'll see you next time.